All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Jahlon with the Paradox Gaming Network, and welcome to another pre-alpha look for Ashes of Creation. As you can see, we have a ton of things to talk about today. I'm going to be answering some questions I've been asked, and then I'm going to give you a recap of the live stream. I'm going to talk about questing, taverns, and artisan classes. I actually had to stop production on the information for this video because people kept asking me, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And as we all know, my videos tend to be a little long, so let's get to it. As always, these are all the different ways that you have to get in touch with me. I don't need to read the screen to you. You've been seeing this long enough. I do want to talk about the hype. This week, I didn't hit my goal. I did want to try to get 150 visits through my referral link, but I did pick up 4 more referrals, so that's important to me, making sure that people who haven't heard about the game hear about it, get exposed to it. If you haven't already registered, there's my referral link, and I'm going to post this in the discussion below. Now, I know the big thing is people are going to say, why do I want to register for a game so far in advance if it's not coming out until late 2018, early 2019? Well, that's because every person who's registered to the forums has a chance of winning an alpha key through Intrepid doing just random giveaways. Now, I know a lot of people have been asking me this question, what about the money? Yes, every person who signs up for Ashes through my referral link does generate me a little bit of money. Right now, my unpaid earnings are sitting at just under $40. My intention with this money is to do what I do with all donations, is to channel it right back into the Paradox Gaming Network. This will probably go for raffles, giveaways, and maybe in the situations to help somebody who, for some odd reason, can't make ends meet 1 month to the next, and they need just to help me up 1 month to be able to keep themselves in game. So, to start with the questions, I keep getting asked this question: does Intrepid have the staff they need to pull this project out? I don't know how many times people have said the staff is too small, the staff is this, the staff is this. Well, the team page on the website is not the whole team. It's just a small fraction of the team. As of the time PAX was, they had 27 in-studio staff, they had 35 out-of-studio collaborators, and the PAX demo that you see on the right-hand side of the screen, that was produced within 90 days of the end of the Kickstarter. So that shows you that it wasn't just a, hey, look at all the pretty stuff we have that we're going to try to do. As you can see, these are actual visitors to PAX getting to sit down, or stand up actually, at a computer and play some Ashes of Creation. Now, that video has led me to this question, and people have kept asking me, am I worried about the combat system, that it seems slow and sluggish? And no, I'm not worried about the combat system in the slightest. You're seeing pre-alpha footage. This isn't even polished for a pre-alpha. This is, hey, we're just going to give you a flavor, a little sample of what the combat's going to look like, what the game is going to feel like. Alpha 0 starts on December 15th, and they are going to get a huge amount of feedback from all the people they invite. And so they're going to know exactly how fast or how slow or how to tweak the combat system. As you're going to see in some of these videos throughout that I've spliced in, they're actually still working on the combat animations. So if they're still doing those things, then the combat speed is not currently on their agenda. Okay, to start our live stream recap, what you're seeing on the screen right now is just a little bit of footage from the walking tour Steve took us on. He showcased the work that his team was doing on different aspects of the game. I've chosen to pull out the more visual things so that you could really get an idea of what they're working on, but rest assured there are people working on code and other bits and pieces that are necessary for Alpha 0 to go off on time. If you want to see the entire tour, I've put a link to that in the description below. Also from the live stream, everybody who participated in the Halloween event got an Alpha 0 key. To this, I say bravo, Steve. I know a lot of people were annoyed at this, and I'm willing to bet that a lot of those people were people who didn't submit. And I know that people are going to say, well, you only said the top couple of people were going to get a prize, and if I had known I would have gotten an alpha key, I would have participated. That really wasn't the point. The point is, the first group of people that participated in a contest, they really put their work out there to be mainly ridiculed because most of the publicity you get anymore is negative. So for the next contest, a lot more people are going to have to take the risk because remember, those who risk it get the biscuit. Finally, from just some general news, a lot of people have been asking and talking in Discord about the new staff expansion and the building move, and I think this is probably the biggest thing we're waiting to hear about. You just saw that they have a lot of team members, and if they're getting ready to move into a bigger studio, and they're ready to bring on more members of the team, that means they're really staying on time for their production schedule. And you know, with the money that they raised with the Kickstarter, on top of everything that's being privately financed, I have zero doubt that this game is going to come out on time. So to talk about some questions, to recap those, will there be a group finder? No, not directly in the sense that we're used to. You won't be able to just queue for a dungeon anywhere in the world and get ported there. You're going to have to actually go places. Now, later on, we're going to talk about there may be a queue up for some party stuff, but that's in the taverns coming up later. Somebody asked where the Tallner art is. And Steve said it's not really part of the next milestone, which is the Alpha 0, but we can expect to see that at the end of the first quarter 2018. Can the minimum name for characters be 3 characters? They're going to look into it. Upcoming conventions, they're going to be at 6. One of them is going to be PAX East, which is in Boston in April. I'm thinking about maybe going out there myself. It's been a long time since I've been to a PAX. And I'd really love to just run into a bunch of Ashes people. That'll probably be the only booth I go and see, to be honest. Gender lock classes? Nope, none of that. Any unique titles? Yeah, there are going to be some titles you can only get from a node of a particular type. Really makes sense to me with the Divine node. If a Divine node is up and coming and rising in stages, it would make sense that there are some religious flavored titles that could come from that. And then somebody asked about achievements for world firsts, and they did say yes, absolutely. First world boss kills, first dungeon clears, there's going to be achievements for those. Now, to move into a big part, which is questing. I know a lot of people are PvE players. They like the PvE line of a game. They don't really like to get into the PvP. Well, you're not going to be led by the nose in this game. You are going to have to pay attention to the NPCs. Taverns are going to be a focal point of quest starting, and again, they have their own section coming up later. There's going to be a bulletin board system, but that's not the official name, where leaders of nodes are going to be able to create or activate quests for things that their node needs, that their city, town, village, whatever needs. They've also indicated that other people might be able to put quests on there. Thieves Guild may advance, Mages Guild, all those things may advance the availability of quests on the bulletin board system. And then an individual might find some, as Peter called them, one-off quests in the wild. Their big goal is to avoid a lot of back and forth, which, thank you, there is nothing more obnoxious than get a quest, go into the woods, find 15 plants, come back. Then the guy next to it said, well, go kill 8 deer. They said that their goal is to load up on a bunch of quests, and then you go out and adventure, and then you come back. And they did throw a little sly caveat in there that said the world is fluid, so you may go out adventuring, and who knows, we may actually go out and adventure for more than one day. This may be very tabletop-like, where we leave town as a band of adventurers and we play for our set static time, and then we sort of drop off there, log out, knowing we're going to log in tomorrow. And in that time, we might come back and our city, our village looks different. Real quick shotgun questions. Dailies, no, they want to avoid dailies. Grinding, no, they don't want to have like the, oh my god, I have to do the same thing every day over and over grind. Seasonal and holidays, yes. They're going to have some that match the real world and some that match in-game holidays and festivals. Epic quest lines. Now, it's been decades since we've seen these. So, yes, but they did indicate probably not for item rewards. So it's going to be interesting what we get from those. So, no dailies. That'll be boring. Truthfully, I don't think so, and I'm going to get into that with the Tavern system. But don't forget that above all else, your node is going to need tender loving care. your node needs to be nurtured, otherwise it's going to enter a decay state and die. So you may leave your node and be gone for a day or two, 3, 4, a week, depending on what you get into, visiting freeholds and taverns. But eventually, if you run out of things to do, there is always return to the node to see what it needs. So let's get into those taverns. Now, this came from the blog that was released yesterday, and that link is also in the description below. And basically, if you were ever a tabletop player, there were certain things in certain games that were like the de facto headquarters for adventurers. Most GMs went with a tavern system. Even in post-apocalyptic worlds like Rift, you had like gathering points, bars, underground music venues, whatever you called it. You had this location that adventurers went to find work. Now, the tavern goes far beyond that. Like we're familiar with, rested XP, spending time in the tavern away from your actual adventuring is going to earn you rested XP. Interesting, there's going to be voice chat enabled in taverns. Now, we have no other details on this. The Discord was pretty abuzz this morning, talking about problems and all those things we don't want to see. So we're going to be asking a lot of good questions to Intrepid to try to find out some answers. Food and drink. Obviously, you can't have a tavern without a good beer and some, roast ribs. And they are going to give you some sort of benefit while near the tavern. This is interesting because what those benefits are could influence the other things you do on the near the freehold the tavern sits on. And the battle map system, not even going to touch it, but because I don't really have enough information, but they put it in the blog, so I want to let you know it is going to be accessible through taverns. And I recommend you read the blog on this, and I will talk about this particular topic at a later time. Parlor Games. Now, this is a huge thing. Parlor Games was one of the stretch goals, and they made that stretch goal. So there's going to be Parlor Games. These are going to be individual, one-on-one, or group. They've alluded to that there's going to be racial-specific Parlor Games. And the really cool thing I heard them say was finding the rules to a lost Parlor game are going to be one of the rewards you can find by spending a lot of time adventuring in the wild. Now, I think this is going to be really, really, phenomenal. And it takes me back to a tabletop live-action scenario, I think, 10 years ago. Me as a player, Jahlon as a person, I'd never heard of the game Neftafel. And I actually got exposed to this game through a Changeling LARP. And now, 10 years later, Neftafel is still one of my favorite games. So I hope that they figure out a way to do stuff like that. Hint, hint, Peter, put Neftafel in Ashes of Creation. And just the fact that then if Jahlon the character learned one of these parlor games, just think about how revered I'd be in the tavern scene. I could spend a month just traveling tavern to tavern playing a parlor game you've never seen in game before. Guys at Intrepid, that's absolutely brilliant. That in and of itself gives people who don't like combat something to strive for. It also gives them the motivation to go out into the wild because they have to go into the wild to find it. So their goal, a character's whole goal may be to just find this lost parlor game. So on top of all the stuff we already know about the game, this one little thing can create massive amounts of adventures. Speaking of adventures, you're going to hear things in the taverns because there's no global quest ! Littering your mini-map telling you to go there being led by the nose. You may hear about stuff in a tavern through that voice chat or through the bulletin board system of, say, a camp of kobolds near a cave. Well, maybe they're there, and maybe Jahlon and his paradoxical company of adventurers head out there to beat these evil little creatures. Or maybe we go out there and we find that somebody started a vicious rumor to lure adventurers there to kill them. It may be true, it may be a trap. That's awesome. The sheer fact that these things are going to be allowed is what the MMO industry has been craving for 10 plus years. that's really all we have on Taverns for right now. As soon as I know more, I'm going to be focusing hardcore on Taverns every time information comes out. Finally, for this episode, I want to talk about Artisan Classes because I said that I would. And let me tell you, I love crafting. I have loved crafting since Final Fantasy XI, where you had to have the right day on the right time and the right moon phase and face the right direction and the right gear and all these things. I've absolutely loved crafting ever since then. I like the fact that they're running the trinity of artisan classes. You've got your gatherers, you've got your processors, and then you've got your crafters. And they've said that you can only be a master of one artisan class, but you can be a jack of all trades. Now, we don't have a lot more detail on that, so I can't really expound on it. And a lot of what you're going to see in the next couple of slides is going to be some supposition, some conjecture. But I think with as much experience as I have in the MMO world, I can make these leaps. Of course, if I'm wrong, I will immediately recant what I'm wrong on. So to give you the facts first, they have said that it is totally possible to enjoy this game in a non-combat playstyle. And as you just saw, you can do that in the Tavern system, but you can clearly do it in the gathering of resources, processing resources, and crafting as well. They've said that artisan classes are going to be very, very important to the success of your node. And if they're important to the success of your node, it means they're important to the shape of the world. People may want to travel from a few zones of influence over to your node because you've become the greatest blacksmith and you're making a specific type of blade. We just don't know how those things are going to work yet, but rest assured, I do remember traveling a long ways to find crafters for my gear, and I've had people, seek me out to make them gear in games where the crafter matters. The leadership of the economy node is bought, so the more power, the more money, the more power. And that's just, you could find yourself a very influential leader of a node just because you have the bankroll to buy your seat. So crafting, recipe paste, no RNG. Now, you're going to find if you research on the Ashes of Creation wiki, a little bit about some RNG on enchanting. And we don't have enough to even talk about that yet, but they have said for the basics, for the crafting, it's no RNG. So much better on top of Arcade already to begin with. You will need to find rare items. You will need to kill rare monsters to make the rarest gear. They have talked about if you find an ultra rare item, you can destroy it in order to reverse engineer it to learn the plan. I'm really interested in that. I do remember Star Wars The Old Republic had some stuff about limited rare schematics, so that's actually really kind of cool. Right now, no crafting on the fly. You will have to be at a station, be it at a freehold or in the node. Durability, there is going to be durability, but it's not going to be trivial. Gear can be destroyed, and gear can be reforged. And I think this is important because games that just allow you to have an infinite, like your sword exists forever, not really cool, not really fun, because the crafters then, oh, I made you the blessed sword of Vorpal rendering plus 10, and now you never need another one. You never need to visit me to have it repaired. I think durability really needs to be in Ashes, and I'm glad it is. For all you alchemists out there, they have said there will be potions. But they will not be so powerful as to replace the need of a class. So you're not going to have like 5 fighters and tanks load up on potions and go out there without a cleric. You're going to need a cleric. And I like that because I play healers and I hate being replaced by consumables. The professions we know, alchemy, cooking, armor smithing, weapon smithing. Now inside those, there are going to be categories. And we know that there's going to be tea. So tea making, tea brewing might be inside cooking. So I'm stoked for this. I wanted to give you guys a little flavor, but I've scoured all the resources and there's not much more to give you. Gathering. Big thing is no more do you have the infinite bag of I'm carrying like the Amazon rainforest in my backpack. I like that. I like the fact that it is limited bag space for gathering. I did see that they talked about a specialized backpack for gathering so that you can put more gatherables in it. And there's some discussion of freeholds being able to auto-gather mats. I think this is really cool. I do like a little bit of automation. It also means that there's a reason to be a certain type of freehold or have your freehold in a certain area. Oh, this part of the zone is rich in copper. Well, I really want to be over here on the map. Where's my camera? I want to be over here on the map, but here's where the copper is. So maybe I don't get to be a tavern owner if I want to be a crafter. Maybe I have to go to where the materials are. They have talked about farming, fishing, and taming. These are all flat confirmed by name. Gathering ore and wood, mining and logging are both referenced in Node 1, so we know those are going to be there. And herb gathering was mentioned specifically in a stream, so we know that's going to exist. Don't really have a lot of information on processing, and by not a lot, I haven't been able to find any, so more to come on that. Now, these are my assumptions, and I'm going to give a big shout out to Zilch from the Discord. We were discussing this, and it sort of makes sense that if you can farm, that farming is going to affect cooking, so you're going to have some sort of processing in the middle. The same with herb gathering, fishing, lumberjacking. Everything seems pretty linear. If I have this to gather and I need this to craft with, it makes sense that there is a specialized processing to join them. Again, all assumptions. This is not official. This is just me spitballing what I think, because I know a lot of people are totally stoked for crafting, and I wanted to just put my idea out there, and I don't think I'm going to be far off. And if I am far off, I'm blaming Zilch. And that's it for this week. I hope I've given you a lot of just stuff to mull over. More importantly, I hope I've given you the links to the places that you can go to get that information firsthand. I know these are all academic reviews, so I totally love what I'm doing. I'm doing my own research and I'm bringing it to you. Next week, I'm going to talk about trade caravans, PvP flagging. Specifically, they have an awesome system called Corruption, so join me next week for that. Going to talk about the bounty hunter system. And of course, Steve is kind of a crazy guy. He puts stuff out kind of randomly, and we never know what we're going to get. So I can't promise you what may or may not be in next week's video. We're just going to have to take it 1 week at a time and see what we can provide. Hey, you. Yes, you. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. Hit that subscribe button. Watch a couple of more videos. Go check out our website.